Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Victory Church, we had such a great time Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Getting into the Word, end times, people are so hungry, it's wonderful. If you're anywhere near the southern part of Arkansas, we'll be in Magnolia, Arkansas this weekend at Bethel Church. We'll be there Sunday morning, Sunday night. We'll have a great time getting into the Word. So we're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord, specifically the signs of His return. There's about 50 of those. But if you want to get more technical, what happens around the Ezekiel 38 war, because the rapture is signless, but the second coming has tons of signs. So we see the setup for the Ezekiel 38 war happening right now, so that tells us we're very close to the coming of the Lord. So let's pick up what's happened all around Israel. Man, several things have happened this last week. I know I say that because things keep happening. Probably the biggest deal is Israel had another assignment and took out another cache of weapons in northern Iraq. Now, what weapons were they? Iran sending weapons down. They keep relaying all these weaponry all the way into Iraq, all the way into Syria, over to the edge of the border of Israel because they want to annihilate Israel. I watched NBC Nightly News' report last night about Iran, and they were all talking about the sanctions against Iran, but not one time did they talk about the reason they have sanctions against them is because they're publicly saying they're going to annihilate Israel and they want to wipe Israel off the map. Along with that, they keep piling up all this weaponry and Israel has to go take them out. This is the fourth time in the last couple of weeks that in Iraq, Israel's had to send planes in and destroy that. So that's happening and that continues to happen. So much more. Israel's testing its Arrow missile defense system on the Pacific Ocean this week. It's going to be right off of Santa Barbara. They'll fire a missile toward Japan. It's pretty crazy. You've got the Arrow working with the Patriot batteries, with the THAAD system, and with the Aegis systems. They're getting literally the missile defense technology where they can hit a missile right when it's fired. That's what this test will be, to make sure they can get it before it even gets to the apex of its flight. So pretty crazy. They're working in conjunction with the United States Air Force and with Israel's defense forces in the Negev desert. So it is pretty crazy how flawless that system is. So you'll see that test this week. Along with that, you had the United States do a ballistic missile test as well. And people got freaked out about that. But I like that they're basically matching what Russia did last week. Russia's test that blew up and got radioactivity everywhere, which they're denying, was a nuclear-powered missile that will fly at a low altitude. So Israel's ready for all that. And that's amazing that that's probably what will happen in the Ezekiel 38 war. So in the middle of all that, you have Abbas, which is the head of the Palestinians. He came out this week saying, we know where we're descendants of. We're descendants of the Canaanites. I don't think he even understood. You need to read Zechariah 13. The Bible talks about what's going to happen to them, and it ain't good. So you see them again setting up ways to go into southern Israel, along with Hezbollah on the northern part of Israel. They're quietly and secretly waiting for all this weaponry to come from Iran. So pretty bizarre. This is crazy that they publicly say this is what we're waiting on, is for all that equipment get down here so we can attack Israel. You had some Syrian troops go in and take Idlib. The Syrian rebels came out. Russia said this week we're eyeing that real close. They said they might send more troops back in there. Why is that a big deal? You see a consistent change of armory where the Assyrian is from. That's pretty crazy. You had much more things happening all over the world, though. You had 65 earthquakes in Kansas and Oklahoma in 1 week. 7-day period. You had swarms of earthquakes that happened at the Sea of Galilee. That one kind of freaked me out. So you got many more things happening, even with like the Congressman Omar. You know how Israel wouldn't allow her to come into the country, but then they said, okay, we'll allow you to come in. But no one even talks about what was the purpose of that. The company that invited her to come into Israel, this is what they publicly said. This is why they weren't allowed to go into Israel. They publicly said that suicide bombs are okay for the cause. So that was who was inviting those congresswomen. And along with that, the congresswoman even said yesterday, we want to look at our aid for Israel, not do any more aid for Israel. So crazy thought pattern keeps coming forward, just like it's going to be for the Antichrist. They want to change dates and times, and they want to change history. The history is Jesus died for us and was raised from the dead, and God told Abraham, all of the land is yours. So you're going to watch that history play out in the days to come. So we always go back to the Scriptures. So many things are happening that I don't have time to get into, but you got Israel made a nation. You got Jerusalem won back. You got the Hebrew language restored. You got the Ethiopian Jews brought back. You've got the fertility of the land of Israel. You got the Temple Mount Institute. You got fish showing up in the Dead Sea, first time in 2,700 years. You got foxes showing up on the Temple Mount, Lamentations 5:18, an indication the third temple is getting ready to be rebuilt. Men will be lovers themselves. We have selfie sticks. So you have all these tangible physical signs, and then you had blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles. Pretty crazy to have 4 in a row. NASA calls it a tetrad. When's the last time you had 4 in a row on Passover and Tabernacles? 1967, when Jerusalem was won back. 1948, when Israel's made a nation. And 1492 at the Edict of Expulsion, when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. That's pretty crazy that the heavens are signaling, I died for you, I'm coming back. And then it goes on beyond that. You had the Bethlehem star this last year. That's pretty crazy. You had Jupiter, Regulus, and Venus come together at the birth of Jesus. The constellation then was Virgo. This last year, NBC Nightly News said we have a celestial event. Jupiter, Regulus, Venus coming together. What was the constellation? Leo. He's the lion of the tribe of Judah. But you have much more. The September 23rd signs, the Revelation 12 signs in the heavens. The same day that the UN came out saying that Israel can't police Jerusalem. So all these things are coming out really trying to take power away from Israel and about Jerusalem. So didn't even talk about all the Jews that went up on the Temple Mount last week. You had 1,700 Jews go up there and you had a skirmish that happened. So many, 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 many things pointing to the coming of the Lord. Specific things that are happening, that are blatant, that are exact and precise. So what do we do as a church? You help your local pastor, help your local church. You don't fit church into your life, it is your life. What's the whole purpose of all these things is He loves you so much and He wants you excited about His return. He wants you to have a heads up. I've said it many times, just like a woman in a wedding. If the groom's standing there, you want your bride walking down the aisle excited and expectant and happy and hopeful and not depressed and all beat up going, oh my God, I'm about to get married. So the Lord actually wants the church to be excited. So that's what all the information is about end times. It's not an escape theology. It's a get off your duff and do something for God theology. Jesus is just about to come. I hear people say, well, if you preach on the coming of the Lord, you just get everybody's hopes up. Duh. That's exactly right. It's the hope that purifies us even as we're pure. So what do we do with all the info? We accelerate. We do the will of God. Jesus is just about to come back. Man, thanks for watching this week. Come back next week and we'll look at all the things that have happened. We'll hear probably more about the earthquakes on the Sea of Galilee. That kind of freaked me out, but there'll be more that'll freak us out because Jesus is just about to come back. The Ancient of Days, He'll come back and He'll prevail. Have a blessed, awesome week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the EDU at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.